Just tuning up. Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and today we have a highly recommended and requested puzzle by Udukos, whose pseudonym is always a bit cryptic to me because it looks like it should be a reversal of the word Sudoku, but it's actually an anagram only. Anyways, Udukos' real name is Akash Jain, a very well-known constructor and a very, very good one. And this puzzle was actually created as a tribute to Fistamafel, another great constructor, and the great man has solved and left great praise for this one, which tells us all we need to know about its quality. Now, I've also just want to flag a change of plan, having watched Mark's video last night, which was called How I Cheat at Sudoku, in which he shows you the dreaded method of bifurcation to solve the Tatooine Sunset puzzle by Philip Newman. Now, bifurcation is incredibly important for speed solving, but it leaves me a bit cold, I have to say. So what I've decided to do, I was going to do this as a patron only video, but I'm going to do it on the channel. I'm going to do a video on called How Not to Cheat at Sudoku, where I do show you a logical solve of that puzzle. Unusually for us, it won't be a live solve though, because I needed 2 sittings to finish it. My attempt to record my solve ended in disaster when I got stuck. But I did solve it later on that night, so I do know how to solve it. And so I will present a logical solve. And if anyone watching isn't sure about techniques like swordfish ears or X-wings, then I think it should be a very helpful video, because let me tell you, there are a whole bundle in that puzzle. Now, anything else to mention? Well, don't forget about our ARG, which is running at the moment, continuing apace as ever. That's all I can say about it. So let me read you the rules of Udukos' new puzzle here. We have normal Sudoku rules apply. Cells separated by a single knight's move in chess cannot contain the same digit. Digits may not repeat within a cage, and the clue in the top left corner of a cage indicates the sum of all the digits in that cage. So that's completely standard killer Sudoku rules, as well as obviously the knight's move constraint. Also note the inequality sign in the grid. So here we go. You can see that what this is telling us is that this cell must be greater than that cell. And the killer cage without the sum, that's that one, is not required for the solution. It is just there to maintain the symmetry. Okay, so you can see, I can see now I think about it, yes, look, those 2 cages are now symmetrical, and in fact, yeah, okay, the other cages are symmetrical, so that sort of makes sense. So this one doesn't really tell us anything. Obviously, if we don't know the sum of it, and all these digits are in the same box, the cage is actually telling us exactly nothing about how to solve the Sudoku. But yeah, it makes the Sudoku look more beautiful. So do have a go. The way to play, as always, is to click the link under the video. And with that, I get to play. Let's get cracking. And it's a while since we've done, or I've done, a knight's move puzzle, actually. If you're not familiar with it, what this is saying is if this square is a 1, for example, then not only can you not put 1 in any of the normal cells, according to normal Sudoku rules, but you can't put a knight's move away from this cell. So we couldn't put 1 there, or there either, which creates a few more cells that are restricted. So that's how the knight's move constraint works. We can put 1, 2, and 3 into those squares. It's the only way of making 6 in 3 cells without repeating a digit. And you can see, or I can see, that there are lots of big cages here. Right, yeah, okay, there are 4... Are these all... Yeah, there are 4 7-cell cages. So immediately that I look at this one, I know that there is no 7 and there's no 9 in this cage. How do I know that? Well, I know that the digits 1 to 9... If I take a whole row of a Sudoku, for example, that will contain the digits 1 to 9. The digits 1 to 9 add up to 45. Now I know that this cage contains 7 different digits that sum to 29. I know if it contained 9 different digits, if it was 9 cells large, it would contain digits that sum to 45. So the 2 digits missing in this 7-cell cage must add up to 16, and there's only one way of making 16 in 2 cells, and that's with 7 and 9. So that's how I immediately know, looking at this, there's no 7 and 9. Let's do the rest. Right, this one, this is interesting, look. So 45 minus 31 is 14, so the 2 cells missing from this, or the 2 numbers missing from this cage, must add up to 14, but there is a 9 in the cage. Now the 2 ways of making 14 in 2 digits are 5, 9 and 6, 8. As there's a 9 in the cage, we know that the missing digits must be 6 and 8 from this one. This one, that one's less useful, look. 32, so it's missing 13, which unfortunately can be made in 3 different ways. 4, 9, 5, 8 and 6, 7. And this one is, okay, well this one is a bit different. This one's missing 2 digits that add to 7, which again can be done in 3 different ways. So there's certainly some quite interesting stuff going on with the geometry, but our challenge is to work out how that gives us something useful. So 32. Oh, okay, there's a very, right, I should have got this absolutely instantly, but where do the 1, 2 and 3 go in the 32 cage? We know there's a 1, 2 and 3 in there because the digits that are missing add up to 13. So given there's a 1, 2, 3 in this box, there's a 1, 2, 3 there. Now that looks immediately like the 10 cage might be restricted now. Well, no, that cell is a little bit interesting because this cell sees all 3 of those cells because of the knight's move constraint. This one rules out a repeat in this square. So in fact, this cell cannot be a 1, 2 or a 3 because if it's any of those, it rules out the ability to put 1, 2 and 3 into those 3 cells. So this square has to be higher than 3. So it's got to be 4, 5, 6 or 7, which is not very useful, but it was a logical thing I could see. Look, there's a 1, 2, 3 triple in row 8. Can we do... So whatever goes in that cell, look, has to have a mirror in this cell, because whatever's in that cell is ruled out of that one by knight's move and that one by Sudoku. So those 2 cells are the same. Right, look, I'm going to colour this actually because I've just noticed that once we get these 2 green ones are the same, this one also has a pair now. So whatever this one is can't go in there, so it must go in here. So those 2 are the same, which means those 2 are also the same. And I've no idea if this is what I'm meant to be doing, but it's what I am doing. So, next thing I've noticed, those 2 cells have got to add up to 13. Because we know that the digits missing from the 32 must add up to 13. So given that we've got 1, 2, 3 here, we're going to have 4 cells here that are in the cage. So these have to be the missing digits from the 32 cage, which we know add up to 13. So I don't know if that's useful either. What's this 9 doing in the grid? Is that just to tell us, is that just to disambiguate this 31 cage? Or is this more important than that? I tell you what it does do. Where does 8 go in box 4? You can't put 8 in a 3-cell 10 cage, and we know there's no 8 in the 31 cage, so 8 goes in one of those 2 cells. Which is useless. So 6 could go in the 10 cage, annoyingly. So maybe the 9 does more work. Does it do anything up here? 9 can't repeat in the cage, and it can't be a knight's move away. So 9 in box 1 is locked into 3 positions. Oh. Right, hang on a sec. So 9 can't go in the 29 cage. We know that's missing a 7 and a 9. So 9 in this box, where can it go? It can't go there. It can't go there, strangely, because if it goes there, you'd have to put 1 and 2 into that domino, and that's gonna break the bottom of the grid, look. So 9 can't go there. It can't go there because of the inequality sign. If we put a 9 there, we'd have to put a 10 there, which is impossible. Ah, beautiful. Okay, we get a digit. Look, 9 can't go here because that's a knight's move away from that 9. So this 9 actually is powerful. It locks 9 out of those squares, whoops, which gives us a 9 there. We get a digit in the grid. We get 9s locked into there, those cells. We get 9s locked into these cells. And there the trail of breadcrumbs runs dry, I think. So if 9 is in the 12 cage, this would have to... this could be a 1 or a 2, though. That would be okay with the bottom of the grid. And 7 can still go in all 5 of those cells, I think. Okay, starting to get worried about this. What do we do now? It must... Well, I say it must. I've got no idea what it must be, but it feels like these huge cages are the key, doesn't it? It feels like the geometry of these cages is somehow relevant. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Is there more we can do with these triples down here? So there must be a 1, 2, or 3 in one of those squares. 2 of these squares have to be the digits 1, 2, and 3. It's just not useful enough. There's not enough restriction. Is there something preventing the 10 cage from being... Actually, I tell you what would be useful. It would be very useful to know this 10 cage wasn't 613. Let's just have a look at that. If that was 613, because that would give me the 6 into 6-8 pair. Oh, right, goodness. Okay, now I've understood. Let's go back. This cage is important, and it's... that's clever. The key is what this cell can be. Because if we put a digit in here such that this cell has to be a 1, 2 or a 3, let's just look at this square and ask, can it be a 1, 2 or a 3? The answer is no, because whatever goes in this square can't go in those 2 squares, so has to find a mirror here. Now if these 2 squares are the same number, where do you put that number in the 31 cage? The answer is nowhere. Let's just look at it. Let's imagine they were both 1. We know the 31 cage is only missing a 6 and an 8, but now I can't put 1 in those cells. I can't put 1 here, and this one rules out 1 from those squares. So this square, it's very clever. I'm just cross I didn't spot it immediately. This square cannot be a 1, 2 or a 3, which means it has to be a higher... Well, obviously it means it's got to be 4, 5 or some other digit, which means the minimum value I can make this pair is 9 if I use 4 and 5. Well, I can't make them any higher than 9, or I'd have to put 0 into this one. So this is a 4, 5 pair. This is a 1. Yeah, this pair is really beautiful, isn't it? That can't be a 1 now, but if we look at the way the 4, 5 pair operates on the 31 cage, we know there's a 4 and a 5 in the cage. Well, they can't go there or there, so this is a 4, 5 pair. Now this must be important. I refuse to believe. Now where does 6 go? Yeah, 6 does go in those 2 squares. So this is a 6, 8 pair. These 3 squares are 2, 3 and 7. And Oh, well now, yeah, let's look at this box again. This box hasn't got 6 and 8, so it's got we've actually penciled every other digit, so that square's got to be a 1, which means this square is a 1, this square is a 1, and we are cooking suddenly with something more useful. Now, can we keep this going? So 1's quite interesting in box 2 because of the Knight's constraint. Look, it's got to go in one of those cells. So 1's got to go in one of these cells. This column still needs, I can see it needs is it 6, 7 and 8 it's missing? Okay, I don't see how to resolve that. So, aha. Good grief. Okay. Now, when I saw this inequality sign in the puzzle, good grief, I presumed this was going to be used at a very late stage to disambiguate something, but actually I think it's used now, because what can that square be? Once we know this is a 4-5 pair, it's very important with Knight's Move Sudoku to keep track of these pairs like this, because it means that neither of these two squares could ever contain a 4 or a 5. Now if we look at this domino here, it's looking at a 2, 3 in the column. So actually, these two squares are quite restricted, even though it might not look like they are. And this one is even more restricted because it can't be a 1. And it suffers from the inequality sign. So what can we put into that square? Well, we can't put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can't put 9. So we've got to put 6, 7 and 8. But if this is 8, that has to be 9, which is impossible. So it's not 8 either. Now this is a 6 or a 7. And this is a 29 cage that can't contain a 7. So the only digit that's higher than 6 and 7 that works in that square is 8. Which is quite extraordinary. And now look at this 8. That forces an 8 into one of those cells. So now we know there's a 5 in one of those cells as well. How do we know this? Well, we know the missing digits from the 32 cage add up to 13. So as soon as I know there's an 8 in there, there must be a 5 as well, because if I try and leave 5 out, I have to leave 8 out. So this square is now, oh, yeah, okay, now where does 9 go now? Because 9 can't go in the 12 cage, given that square's a 6 or a 7, so 9 must go here. Which is about the most useless place 9 could go. Look, it doesn't resolve anything over there. Oh, sorry, no, that's not doing anything for me. So this has to be 6 or 7. So if this is, yeah, okay, look, if this is 7, those two cells have to add up to 5, but this can never be a 2 or a 3 because of this column. So this square, if this is 7, this would have to be, in fact, it would have to be 1, because you can't put 1 there. So this would have to be a 1-4 pair like this. If this is 7, if this is 6, these two have to add up to 6. So if it's 1, 5, the 1 would still be here. This would be 5. Is there anything stopping this being 5? Not quite. And if this was 2, 4, the 2, look, can't go there. So this would be a 2. This, it's not quite good enough, look. It's close, but it's not quite good enough. Bobbins. Oh, it's... no, hang on. So we can do, because of the 4, 5 here, we can do the same with this cell. So, yeah, this cell is very restricted as well. Because what can it be now? It can't be 2, 3. It can't be 4, 5. It can be 1 or 6. It can't be 7 because it's in the 29 cage. It can't be 8, there's an 8 in the cage as well. And it can't be 9 because there's a 9 there. So this is 1 or 6. So, so this can't be 156. If this is 156, you can't put anything in this square. If this can't be 1, 5 and 6, that can never be a 5. And got it. So now, whether this is 7 or 6, there is always a 4 in this cage. If there's always a 4 in this cage, what's that square? It sees both of those cells. It can't be a 4. That's got to be a 5. Goodness me, this is a clever puzzle. This is really a clever puzzle. Now, is that all I get for that? Really? Oh dear. Maybe it is. It feels like there must be some extra trick that we can do now though, doesn't it? This 4 isn't looking at either of those cells though. So this 4, this 4 does... Right, this 4 reaches here because of the knight's move constraint. So that's a 5, that's a 4. So how is this important? So 5 now must be right at the bottom of the grid there. 4 can't go here, so 4 must be in one of those 2 cells. Okay. Sorry, I'm really stuck again. Goodness. Oh, I tell you. Oh no, 7, look. Where does 7 go in this box? It either goes in the 12 cage or it goes there, but it's locked into one of 2 positions. I'm not seeing how to tell which way round that goes though. So 2 now has got to be in one of these 3 squares. In fact, 2 and 3 have to be in those squares. Is there anything that this square could still be 2 though? It would still work. Ah, got it. Whew. Goodness me, this is a difficult puzzle. But where does the 29 cage? That hasn't got a 7 and a 9. It needs every other digit. Well, we know, where does the 4 go? We know there's a 4 in one of those 2 cells, so it doesn't go there. This 4 rules out those 2, so this square is a 4. And that tells me the parity of this one. This is a 2, which means that must be 4, this must be 6, this must be 7, and all of a sudden I feel like that's a huge breakthrough, and that must be a 1. These 2 squares must be 3 and 5. The 2 can't go here anymore, so there must be a 2 in one of those 2 cells. So there's a 2 in one of those 3 cells. In fact, look, I can do better than that. 2 can't go there because this box is basically known now. We've got 1, 3, 4, 5 and 8 in it, and it doesn't have a 7 and a 9 in it. So those 2 squares are a 2, 6 pair. That means we get, that one's an 8. That's not 8. That's not 8. 8 here. No. 8 must go in one of those 2 cells in box 3. This square's got to be a 3 or a 5 to complete the row. It's relentless, this puzzle though, isn't it? Every little logical step is tricky. Ooh, Oh no, I thought I'd spotted something then, but no. So maybe we have to look at this row. We need 3, 7 and 9. That's got to be 3 or 7. These are 3, 7 and 9. So we're needing 2, 3, 6 and 7. So that can't be a 6. This is 2, 3 or 7. This one is anything, I think. 2, 3, 6 or 7. Really? 2, 3, 7 triple here, look. So this column is restricted. It needs 6, 8 and 9 into those squares. So these bottom ones must be 6, 8, 9. Six here sees that square by knight's move, so we get more done. 2, 6. Now, can we use this to our advantage somehow? Is there something we can do? So whatever this square is can't appear in this square. Ah, that's a 2 there. That can't be a 2, look. Oh, better than that. The 7, where does 7 go in column 3? This 7 sees both of those squares. So we can rule 7 out of those squares. We get a 7 here. Which is the world's most useless 7 by the looks of things. So 7 in this box maybe? Has to be in one of 3 positions. Good grief. I don't see how to resolve that at all. How do we do this? How do we do this puzzle? I really would like to be able to lock. If I knew what this 32 cage was, the world would become simpler. If I knew a variety of things, the world would become simpler. But unfortunately, these things don't seem to be revealing themselves to me. 2, maybe. 2 in the central box, is that restricted? Can't go there. So it would have to go in one of those 2 cells. 7, 9. I don't think we know very much about those squares there. Maybe I'm wrong. 9s, I've got to go in one of these 2. Not helpful. 4s, is it 4? We have got some 4s in the grid actually. Let's look at 4s for a moment. 4 can't go here. So 4 has to be in one of 3 positions. Doesn't feel enough. Oh dear, we've ground to a mighty halt now. Now, what is it I've not used? I've not used the 38 cage. So, actually 6 and 8, look, maybe I can do stuff with those. So 8 can't go there because of this 8 and the knight's move constraint. Yeah, look, 8 sees this square because of this 8 here. So 8 is locked into one of 2 cells. Right, okay, now I can see something. If I know 8 is in one of those 2 cells, you can't put 8 in these 2 cells because it would rule out the 8 from both of those positions because of the knight's constraint. So 8's not there, so 8 is here, and that rebounds back into box 5 and rules an 8 out of that square, and we get an 8 in the middle of the grid, and this 8 sees that square by knight's move. Brilliant, 6, 8. So 6 is ruled out down there. This becomes 8, 9. 8 must live in one of those two squares by Sudoku and knight's move restriction. 8 is locked into the same two rows of the grid in boxes 7 and 8. So 8 needs to make an appearance in row 7. We know it's not there. We know it's not here. So it must be in one of those three positions. No, we do know that, but we know more than that. The 38 cage is missing two cells that sum to 7, so it needs an 8 in it. Where does the 8 go? It can't go here, it can't go there, and it must be in this square. That's the only position the 8 can go into. Now look, that fixes the 8 in box 3. This is just a very, very clever Sudoku. 8, 8. We get an 8 in the meaningless box. Must be a 1 up here. 7. So in this column now, we've actually got roughly the position of 6 digits. We need to place 5, 7 and 9 into the open cells. So let's take a look at that, see if we can spot anything useful. That one can't. Oh, well, I can. There's a 7 and a 9 there, so that's a 5. This 5. That might be important, because normally I wouldn't worry too much about that. But look, it's locked a 5 into the 38 cage, which means that the missing digits from the 38 cage are not 2, 5. So there needs to be a 2 in there. Oh, yes. Okay, where does the 2 go? There's a 2, 3 pair in row 8, so it doesn't go there. It doesn't go here. It doesn't go here. So it must be in one of 2 cells, which, yeah, because this 2 has ruled the 2 out of that square, we get a 2 in the grid there. This 2 sees the 2, 3 pair. Come on, 2, 3. That gives, all of a sudden, maybe we've just had a breakthrough here. Yeah, that 6 is giving me a 7 at the bottom of the grid. That's 7. Oh, maybe not then. But still, I've got this 2, 3 pair here. So this has to be 5. This has to be 3. This has to be 5. That's not 5 anymore. These are not 7 anymore because of the 7 over there, which means those 2 are a 1, 7 pair. Okay. This 3 gives me the 3 and the 2. So this column needs, those squares have got to be 4, 5 and 6 to complete the column. Now, 4, yes, look, 5 and 6 there, both look at that one. That's a 4. Now, really would be useful now to try and 8, 4, 6 maybe? Yeah, maybe 6. Look at that. So where does 6 go? Where does 6 go in the central box? It's got to not be, it can't be there because of the knight's move constraint. So it's got to be in one of those 2 cells. And it's got to be in one of these 2 squares. Is that helpful? I'm not sure. 1 maybe? What? Let's try. I think maybe I've got to do more Sudoku. Let's do more Sudoku. 1s have got to live down here. This row maybe? This row still hasn't got a 1, 4 or a 6 in it. Where does the 4 go in this row? This 4 sees both of those squares. Good grief. This is That is the only place a 4 can go, therefore we get the 1. Oh, I can see this is huge. This is huge because now, well, I can see two things. One must live in one of those cells, but there's a 1 there, seeing that one. So we get the 6, we get the 1. But the other thing I've seen is, look, this 4 locks a 4 out of the 32 cage. Now, if there's no 4 in the 32 cage, there can be no 9 in it either. So those two squares must be a 4-9 pair, making this a 7, this a 9. This 7 sees that square by knight's move, so that must be a 7. 7 must live in one of those two cells. These two squares, at least we can narrow them down now. They've got to be 3 and 6, and there's a 3 here, yes. We know them, 3, 6. These are 4, 7 and 9. 4 doesn't go there. We've got the useless cage to play with here. 9 doesn't go there because of this 9. I'm sure there's some way we can disambiguate this, but I can't see what it is. So these squares are 2, 3 and 5. Now, can we... yeah, that's not 2. That's not 5. 3 is too far away to be useful. But, okay, we know the 38 cage has a 5 in it, so we know we... oh, we still don't... yeah, we do know. No, we don't. Sorry. I was thinking I would know more about the 2, but I think all I've got is what I had before, which is that 2 lives in one of those cells. It's not useful enough. But we do know there's a 3 in it as well now. If there's a 3 in it, there must be a 4 in it, but there cannot be a 1 or a 6 in it. How is that helpful? It's not helpful at all. I already knew if I'd studied those numbers, I can already see there's no 1 or 6 in it. So that's utterly useless. Right, let's come back over here. 2 and 3 I can see is resolved by this thing. Let's make those the same because of the colouring. So there must be a 2 in one of those squares now by Sudoku. There must be a 3 in one of these two squares by Sudoku. This 4-9 pair, we can obviously narrow down these squares. These are 5, 6 and 8 in some order. That can't be 8. This can't be 6. And this is going to be classic Simon now, where I failed to spot some knight's move for about 25 minutes to try and solve the puzzle. Because it must be about to crack. It must be about to crack. The 1 here can't go there. Yeah, okay, that's at least something. That gives me a 1 here, 7 here, 4 here. So this is 3, 5 and 9. You can see that can't be 3, so this is 5 or 9. So if we look along there, look, that's a 5, 8, 9 triple. So this must be a 6. That must be a 5. And we still need to place 4 and 7 in this row, and there's a 4 there. So the 4 goes there, the 7 goes here, that fixes the 7 and the 9. No, come on, you must be about to fall. Yeah, okay, there must be a 9 in the 38 cage because we know it's only missing 1s and 6s. So that 9 can only go here. That's useful, isn't it? Look, that fixes loads of stuff. That 9 fixes the 9 and the 4. So along the bottom row, we just need 3. What do we need? 3 and something. 3 and 6. Yes, we get that. 6 and 3 from this. That 3 fixes that that's not a 3. This can't be... is this a 2-5 pair? Yes, it is, and there's a 5 here. Perfect. So I think, finally, I might be about to crack the puzzle. 3, 9 there. Looks like it's filled in. Check. Yes, that's how to solve it. It's brilliant. I mean, what more can you say? I actually think, I know this is a 40-minute video, but I actually think that was a relatively okay solve. I was a bit slow at the end, but some of the stuff in the middle was beautiful, and it didn't feel like I was that bad at spotting it. But let me know what I missed. As usual, I always read the comments with interest, and of course we'll be back later on with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.